Hello. I'm just gonna grab this. Hi. So I'm Eva. Hello. And this was like, I think, the best introduction I've ever heard about me. So I'm like, blush. Thank you so much. And thank you, Motion North, for bringing me on, and also Maxon for bringing me here. I'm going to talk to you today about, since I am a 3D animator and artist, as it says there, I'm going to talk to you about how I try to combine ceramics and 3D. And those two do not naturally want to go together. They are a bit like, what, why? And I also brought some of my little ceramic guys there. If you want to have a look later, you can come up, have a little look at them. And I think I'm going to do what everybody does. I'm just going to show my show reel before we get into it. As like a director, I'm represented by Strange Beasts in London, and the projects I get through them are sometimes what I call like the one-woman band project, which what we see here. I did it for Pop-Tarts. It's where I do like everything from storyboard to character design to animation, and I work in Cinema 4D for all of that. And then sometimes we do projects which are a bit bigger, like this one for McDonald's Happy Meal. Sorry, there's a slight delay in the audio, which is why I might talk a bit slow, because it's really weird. But anyways, so this is the project for Adopt Me Happy Meal. And this then goes through the studio pipeline, which is Maya. And the thing is, I won the pitch with these like sort of characters with the like projected faces on them. So you have 3D characters with 2D faces. But that's a very easy thing to do in cinema, but not so much in Maya. And so I kind of won the pitch, and then the team was like, thank you for this horrible way of working. And I was like, sorry. But yeah, it turned out really nice, and I really love it. And I also did like, the only thing I animated on this is like the little token we're gonna see at the end. This one, whee! So yeah, that's what I do as a director. And I also do illustration, which I also do in cinema. And it's also these kind of characters which are round, mainly. Yeah, so this is what those guys look like. Bit cheeky, lots of colors. And I also make them in ceramic, and this is what that looks like. And yeah, as I said, I brought some with me today, so you can have a little look at them if you like. And since there's already that much overlap between my characters in 3D and the characters in ceramic, I was like, there must be a way, surely, to get this together somehow, right? Look at them. Look at them. Okay. And this is where this comes in. I'm not sure how familiar you are with the two wolves meme, but you could just say there's two sides of ideation and creation, at least for me. So there's this side, and she's like, hey, we should work on a short film, we should like hone our skill, we should like maybe finish one of the 10 things you've started. And then there's the other side, and she's like, no, let's come up with something like extremely complicated and, let's make our life really difficult. I often listen to her, so here we are. And, like combining 3D and ceramics. So the first thing I tried to do was obviously make an animated ceramic sculpture character. I mean, obviously, it's the first thing you would do. Is like the most difficult thing ever. And, it looks like very rough claymation, which it basically is. And once you like glaze it, like there's no connection between them at all anymore. So it's like, maybe not do that. And the next thing was, I looked at the texture they have, like the real ceramics. And I thought, wow, this is actually really interesting. Like you have all these cracks and you have like how the color works together and like there's dust on it. And it's like, wow, that's like super cool. Would be so cool if I could build that in Redshift and then have my own texture. And I tried and, it's an okay-ish looking texture that I made. Not really convincing and also, I don't know, it's not, like trying to bring the two things together, that's kind of not really what that is for me. And like the real textures, they're so intricate and nice. It's quite extremely hard to like imitate something from real life with, shaders and textures. So I was like, okay, there must be something else I can do. And so I remembered back in art school many moons ago, we don't ask what this picture is, but art school. I came across those things. I studied film, and this is like one of the really like old school techniques that they used like 200 years ago, where they had these discs spinning, revealing animation. And I thought, okay, wait, I think this might be a possible way to, combine ceramics and 3D and animation into an object that in itself then also will look really cool. And the way those work is that you have like the animated phases on this disc, and then you spin it, and as this gentleman, shows us here, you kind of do need a shutter, and in this case it would be the slits in the disc while you spin it to bring together the animation. And, I think like the GIF examples are probably just animated in the right speed, so the animation comes together. I was like, okay, cool, that should be possible. And I made this little mock-up in 3D without really understanding the mechanics or knowing what I was actually doing. I was just like, okay, it should work. And it kind of did. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. And so those people thought that as well. Because I applied to the AA2A artist residency program with this basically. And I was like, hey, I'm gonna make a really cool ceramics project, and they were like, yeah, you can come, you can do that. And I can really recommend this program because it's nationwide, and it basically puts artists into colleges. So I'm at the New City College in Epping, and you can work in their workshops, which is insane if you think about it. So I can work in their ceramics workshop, can work in their plaster workshop, and yeah, it's just great. So it's for the whole academic year as well, and I think the deadline should be in August or September. So you really should check this out if you are looking into residencies. And yeah, then going back into, like now having to do the project, actually, I was looking a bit more into, okay, what is actually the dynamics behind this effect working? And I found out if you, spin the disc really quickly, like at 24 frames per second, and within 2 seconds, I think like 2.5 times, I don't know, it spins really fast. It seems like if you have 12 phases, they seem to be sitting still, like it's these like row of blue dots. And if you make this 13, it seems to be rotating counterclockwise, whereas if you make it 11, they seem to be rotating clockwise. So I was like, okay, cool. I can, do something with that, because you have on the 12 phase ring, you can obviously implement animation into any of those phases. So, 12, 13, 11, and see what you can make. And so I had this idea of making a little horse that's walking on a sunny day on a ceramic disc. And I build my stuff in cinema, often using volume mesher and volume, builder, exactly, and remesh, and then put it into a cloner and animate the instances of the cloner, or like, what is it, the count, whatever it is down there, that's animated within the cloner, and then put this into the volume builder again to, have this character horse walking. And so as I said, like these rings on the disc, they are open for animation, so you can basically add any 12 frame animation you want. So in my case, I took the walk cycle of this little horse guy, and then just spread it out over the disc ring. And you can see like there's clouds and the sun and stuff. And then once you play it, which is going to happen any second, ta-da, you have a little horse walking while the clouds are basically rotating counterclockwise or clockwise. And this is the sort of final 3D mock-up of this disc. And, I would wish ceramics would turn out like it, looks here, like super clean and like perfect. And this is a bit of a close-up of the animation there as well. And you can see it's very intricate, small details in there. And I don't know if anyone has ever touched clay. It is not willing to do that. So I was like, okay, it's going to be a bit of a challenge. And the other challenge, apart from making, the actual clay pieces, is how would you get it onto the clay? So I was I'm probably gonna have to just like sort of draw it onto like, clay disc to know where to position each like little phase, each little clay object, because they do need to be in the right spot and they do need to be in the right rotation for the effect to work at all. And so I kind of redrew everything in Illustrator and just put it onto 2D version of the disc. And then printed it out to size. This is 35 centimeters in diameter, which is what the kiln can take, and that's the limit. So I was like, okay, this horse is really small. Okay, I'm gonna have 12, to make 12 of those really small. And as I said, clay is not necessarily playing along with precision and small scales. Which is why I then switched to making the sort of like initial objects out of Sculpey, which gives a wider sort of range of, just taking details and being really pliable. So I made 12 of these little horsey guys. And once you have baked those, it's a bit like a cooking tutorial. Bake your Sculpey. You can then make molds off of those. So you would need to, build a little clay cage around your object, and then, with plaster, sort of like make these molds. Which we see here, very interesting, plaster. Plaster's cool though, love it. And then you have your molds. And if you're lucky, they're going to turn out like we see on the right side, where you take out your object and you have the perfect mold, and it just plumps out and no issue whatsoever. But most of the time, like it goes like on the left side, where there's like undercuts, so plaster just seeped under your object, and then it doesn't come out, and then you destroy your original. So there's one chance for these horses to work. They only exist as those molds now. And yeah, so at this point of, my project, I have 4 molds, so we're not going to see the, final disc, unfortunately, at the end of this talk. But yeah, so the next step is to cast them with clay slip, which is really nice, runny clay. Yeah, I'm not even sure what it is, but runny clay that you can put into your molds, and then that takes like the details really well. And yeah, so this is one of the horses in its clay state, and the other objects turned out really nicely. I really like how, it's possible, or it was possible, to have this like puffy look through making them in Sculpey and then molding them, and then using the clay slip to have this sort of precision of the object being transferred. All right. But one question remains is, okay, still, how do you get it onto an actual clay, disc? Because as I said, like, it has to be in a very precise position, and it has to be, like tilted right and all of these things. So I was like, okay, I'm going to make a little test with some skulls I had made earlier, and just trying to find the right position on this clay disc for them, and put it together. As I said, like, unfortunately, we're not going to see the horse disc. We're just going to see this little test of the skulls. And, and then I was like, I'm just going to film it at 24 frames per second, and it's going to work. It's going to look great. And guess what? It did not. It's like, okay. I mean, you can kind of see the effect, like, but, there's too much motion blur. It, like, might be too fast, and then it goes too slow, so the effect doesn't really come through. And at this point, I'm a bit like, okay, I kind of ignored the whole how to actually film this point of this project. But I've seen online people using like maybe strobe lights, or maybe using some kind of shutter in a way to create this, effect of bringing the animation together. But it seems a bit of like, task to do that. Luckily, the college I'm at in the residency also has a media department, so I kind of hope someone there will be able to help me out. Because if you look at it like, this is just an image of the disc rotated in After Effects, like at the right speed. It does kind of work, like the skull's rotating and all that. But as I said, like, it would be lovely if clay would take the precision that the 3D mock-up had, but it won't. So it's still a work in progress, but I think it's promising, and I think we're gonna have some nice clay object at the end of this year, or basically in the summer, hopefully. And this is the place I'm at with this project. And so I think one thing I wanted to mention is that, even though it's important to finish projects that you start and all that, it's also kind of good to sometimes listen to the other side of creation that tells you to just do something really weird, or like do something you haven't seen before, or just try to combine things that maybe at the first look don't really seem to go together, and might lead you to something interesting. You never know. And then here we are with if you want to win like a half-year license with cinema, you can scan this code if you want to. I think it's been around a bit. And that's already the end. I feel it has only been like 20 minutes. I'm really sorry for that, because I thought it would be long. But here we are. So if you want to know what happens next, this is my Instagram, also my homepage. You can see how the project goes, or just see what else happening. Thank you so much.